Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. It's Video Best Bets Part 2. We're going to have a best bet from Preston and myself, and we'll get things started. College football Saturday, the Mountain West Conference Championship game. Got San Diego State and Wyoming. This is a quick rematch. These two just played a couple weeks ago, Preston. And Wyoming got the better of San Diego State in that one. What are you looking in the rematch?
Yeah, I bet the Aztecs at 6.5. I think I got it even a little bit better at one book earlier in the week, but I like it up to 7. And so you can get a 6.5, great bet. 7 plus monies, you can probably still get a 6.5 minus 110 to 115. But there isn't much to this. It's really a numbers-based play. 2 weeks ago they played in Laramie, same exact spot, same location. And they were minus 10 all week, and they did lose the game. But just 2 weeks later, there's no reason for me to think that San Diego State's all of a sudden 3.5 points worse. I mean, and especially when you look at each team's matchup last week, they were both locked into the title game. Neither team cared. New Mexico wiped Wyoming out. Colorado State crushed San Diego State. It was pretty evident, I think, that both teams didn't really focus on those games, and were maybe even looking ahead to this. So I wouldn't really look at those games as, oh, well, San Diego State lost to Colorado State, so now they're 3.5 points worse than they were against Wyoming 2 weeks ago. There's way too big of an overreaction there because they just met and because Wyoming won that game. And when you actually look at the game, Laramie's it's the toughest probably, or tied with like Hawaii and Boise as far as home field goes. And the altitude's the highest in all of college football, and it gets valued accordingly. And in that fourth quarter, San Diego State, middle of the fourth quarter, up 7 with the ball, and I think they fumbled. And then Wyoming, 2 big pass plays, and all of a sudden they were up 7 themselves. And then San Diego State actually tied it with a minute left at the buzzer and decided, I think it was telling on maybe how the altitude was affecting them at the end of the game. They went for 2 and went for the win, and they failed, so they lost by 1. But I think having done that experience, it can only be beneficial doing it again 2 weeks later, more accustomed to the altitude, what to expect in that regard. And when you actually look at the experience of each team, and Wyoming hasn't even been to a bowl game in 5 years, let alone playing for a Mountain West Conference title. And what Craig Bull's done, fantastic. Came from North Dakota State, the FCS powerhouse that they were, and he's changed it around, or turned it around, I should say, at Wyoming. But it's an inexperienced team that hasn't been in a spot. San Diego State's been there before. They did this last year. It's kind of, I think, just take care of business for them. And I expect them to get a pretty solid win. So anything under the touchdown, I think, is a really good bet.
And I agree with you. And to echo your sentiments about the line, that line, they were minus 10, and really the game didn't mean anything for San Diego State. They had their side of the division locked up. Wyoming was fighting to win the division, so they had everything to play for. Now this game does mean something, and we've got the big adjustment. I feel the wrong way, so I agree with you. I think all of the value is with San Diego State. Got anything big this week, or standard go with the all access?
I may actually have a bigger play, and coincidentally in college hoops we have a bigger play today. But generally I think people do find the most value just with the 4 leagues and everything, getting the weekend pass, and that'll include a bigger play anyways if I end up making one. So
all right, good stuff. I'm going to head to the NFL for my best bet, and we're going to take a look at the Giants against my hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. And, the Steelers, after losing 4 in a row, they've come back, they've won 2 in a row, but all of the pundits are going to point out, well, they beat Cleveland and they beat the Colts without Andrew Luck. Well, I'm sorry, that's the way the schedule played out. Nobody points out the fact that during that 4-game losing streak, the Steelers lost to Miami, New England, Baltimore, and Dallas. That's 3 first-place teams and a team that's won 6 in a row. So they had a very tough schedule during that slate. And this is the only home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers in a 5-week stretch. They're just coming off of 2 road games the past 2 weeks. The next 2 games are on the road. This is a game they need to get at home, and they're playing a Giant team that, you look at them and you watch them. It's another team, we talk about the Raiders, where you watch them and look at stats and you say, how will they have the record that they have? I have to say that with the Giants. I think the Giants should have lost the Monday Night Football game against the Bengals. In a couple of the other games, they were lucky to win. They played Cleveland last week, so again, they had an easy win. They haven't faced an offense as good as the Steelers in 5 weeks. The last 5 teams that they faced were the Rams, the Eagles, the Bengals, Chicago, and Cleveland. The best offense out of that bunch right now is Philadelphia, and we saw a very mediocre Green Bay team shut Philadelphia down on Monday. I think they're going to have their hands full with the Steelers. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I like my Pittsburgh Steelers. I've got them winning this one by 11, and that is my best bet for this week, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I actually like it quite a bit. I'm a Steelers fan for the rest of the way. I took them. It was plus 1450 to win the Super Bowl. My only other future was the Cowboys from before the season, and I was like, I need an AFC team, and at 5-5, it offered a bunch of value. So I'm a Steelers fan now for the next 2 months.
There you go.
So I'm ready.
Well, if you need a terrible towel to wave at the house, I've got a ton of them.
Bring me one.
Definitely. All right, guys, don't forget, check out my Weekend All Access. We're looking at a possible 5% play this weekend as well. It will be included in the Weekend All Access, so you can pick that up for $69. Use that Raiders 10 coupon. You'll get everything. We are on a nice run as we are going into Wednesday night that we're taping, 8-2 with our last 10 plays. So check it out at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with more here at Wager Talk.